These are the Commander cards most worth buying for the month of September.
I'm Mia, and I like matching my decks to my sleeves.
I'm BZ, and I love lint rolling cat hair off my shirt every time I try to go somewhere. And we're the Nitpicking Nerds. We make videos every single day about Commander. This is the 921st day in a row that we've published a video. So you know you're always getting something with us. We're sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc. They've got a promotion. If you spend money at their site and you use code
NERDS
at checkout, you're going to save 5% on your order.
We're also sponsored by Dragon Shields, the best sleeves in the multiverse.
Good sleeves.
You can use our EU and US link to buy the sleeves that you were going to buy anyways, and we get a little bit of a kickback from it.
Moxfield, we love them. Where are they going to be? I don't know. Figure it out. Happy birthday to everyone whose birthday is today.
And your pets.
Yes. So if you've got some money to spend on Magic cards, I'm thinking these are some of the best possible buys right now. We're not saying to go speculate on buy 1,000 of these, but if you need them for your Commander deck, I think now is like the time to pick them up.
There is some really good value here. Starting with the first one, the Meat Hook Massacre, if you've ever heard of it, $29 at the moment due to a reprint on the list. It costs X black and black for an enchantment that says, when it enters the battlefield, each creature gets -X until end of turn. When a creature you control dies, each opponent loses one, and when a creature they control die, you gain one. So this is just like amazing as a board wipe, and it has been banned from Standard, which made the price go down a little bit, but it's even more now due to the reprint.
Finally, I never thought I was going to talk about this card again for a card that I would ever even consider buying, because it was like $70, $60, $50. It's not $50 good, but I do think it's $29 good, and I'm going to even add a little thing. Just bookmark this. Wait 2 weeks and then buy a Meat Hook Massacre or two for your deck. It might go as low as like $20. I don't know how much this list is going to impact it, but it's already dropped like $15. So keep your eye out. If not, just buy one now, and I don't think you'll regret it. Meat Hook Massacre is really, really good, especially in decks that would be okay just casting it for black.
I've had my eye on it for a while, and I'm so excited to see it at 29 because I was going to buy it at 40.
Yeah, exactly. Number 2 is Deadly Rollick, $16. It's 3 and a black for an instant. You can cast it for free if you control your commander, which happens a lot, and it exiles target creature. If you control your commander, this card's better than Swords to Plowshares, and that's in like every white deck ever, and I would say I control my commander most of the game.
I love the fact that this entire cycle got a reprint in Commander Masters, but Deadly Rollick's definitely one of my favorites, especially with that new art.
Oh yeah, this one was one of the most like significant price drops, so we wanted to highlight this one specifically. Like Fierce Guardianship's still 30 something, $32, so I'm not like as jazzed about that one, but Deadly Rollick I'm jazzed about. We actually talked about this card like a year and a half ago when it was around this price, and I thought that was very fitting. We'll bring it back. Please do not forget that this card exists. Put it in your decks.
Didn't you also mention Obscuring Haze around that time?
No, I don't remember that one. I don't know.
No?
You're thinking of something else.
Okay, that's crazy. I thought you did. Third on the list is Phantasmal Image for $4 right now. For 1 and a blue, you can have it enter as a copy of any creature on the battlefield, except it's an illusion, in addition to its other types, and when it becomes the target of a spell or ability, sacrifice it. I know you don't like copies usually, but I think this is like pretty good.
This is one of the clones I can get behind. There's like 5 clones that I'm here for, and it's like Phyrexian Metamorph, Clever Impersonator, this one, maybe one of the Flash clones out there. The fact that you can just kind of get an, oh hi Amber, get the ability of something, get Amber's Jump on the Table ability for just 2 mana. Like your opponent had to spend 7 mana to cast Amber and get her ETB, but you can just spend 2, get the same thing. I don't think the targeted like clause is actually as bad as it looks. What's going to get you is abilities. They're going to be a random ability that costs like 1 mana and hits a creature sometimes. That'll get you. But as far as spells targeting creatures, those really are only going to appear in kill spells that would have killed your creature anyway.
That's what I was just going to say. Like, it would have died anyways, and for 2 mana just getting the ETB, and if it sticks around and just happens to get swept up in a board-wide blader, you just had that creature like just lying around. So that's just extra value, you know, just a body out on the field.
Yeah, most ETBs of creatures that cost like 4 or more are probably worth 2 mana, and you just get the creature to stick around. And honestly, if you go to Deadly Rollick, my Phantasmal Image, I want it to die instead of get exiled so that I can just bring it back. So that trigger could be even better than normal.
Absolutely. What's number 4?
Number 4 is Smothering Tithe, another card I never thought would be most worth buying because it's $16 right now. You probably know what it does. 3 and white for an enchantment. Whenever an opponent draws a card, you get a treasure unless they pay 2. They rarely do because that's a lot of mana, and I draw cards all the time, especially with like my Preordains and my Mishra's Baubles. This card is literally a white staple. It is probably, we just did this, we did this video a while ago, but I think it's the first, second, or third best white card in the format, like full stop. So $60, I'm hyped.
I saw it for 40 a few sets ago, and I know we all collectively wished, please print Smothering Tithe, and Wizards heard our prayers and went, oh, okay, next 5 sets.
Yeah, here's 87 Smothering Tithe. I'm so happy. We don't need to tell you how good this card is. It is literally a card you can put in any white deck, aside from maybe CDH, because we can't speak to that, and it will be amazing.
It accrues so much value, and you're just laughing and sitting in treasures the entire time.
You have to laugh. It's mandatory. Next is a card I don't know if we've ever talked about on the channel, like ever. It's Sneak Attack. It's $4. If it's 3 in a red for an enchantment, you can pay red and colon. You can put a creature card from your hand onto the battlefield. Creature gains haste, and you sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. This card has fluctuated between like $25 down to 20, down to 15, down to 11, and now it's down to 4. I'm finally like, oh, wait a minute.
I've been hurt with this card so many times by my friends like Atla Palani decks and that sort of thing, and I really want to put it in casual Kalia for a while, but I couldn't justify spending $25 on just a deck of like, oh, these are cool cards and these angels have big butts. Like, I couldn't justify that, but I'm so excited to see it at 4.
Yeah, this is borderline bulk rare territory. Super sweet. And I like that you mentioned those too, because like Atla Palani and Kalia, this is the perfect backup plan when those cards are not on the battlefield for those decks. It's so good, and you can even get really spiky with it. You don't have to. You could throw down like Rampaging Brontodon, or you can throw down Kozilek, Butcher of Truth, and just end somebody's career on like turn 3.
It works with other abilities like Encore and just so many graveyard synergies.
Yeah, next is a card. It's Academy Manufacturer, and I know I just introduced it as a card, but I don't feel bad. It's $4, 3 mana, 1/3. Whenever you make a food, treasure, or clue, instead you get all 3. This has got build around hyper specific written all over it, but the fact that it covers 3 specific niches means it's a little bit bigger of a like subsection of decks it goes in. And sometimes if your commander just makes a lot of food or treasure incidentally, you might just want this card. It is absurd in those decks. It's one of the best cards in those decks. So usually Academy Manufacturer is not in your deck, or it's the best card in your deck.
My friend bought a bunch at $1.50 and put some in his budget decks, and seeing it spike up to $10 where it like was definitely more likely to be because of all the value, it made sense, but sure made him sad when he had to take it out.
I thought it would stay there. So when I hit $10 and then dropped back down to 4, now I'm like, okay, if feels bad, man, I couldn't spend $1.50 on it. Still scooping a couple up for 4, still gonna be happy when it goes back to 12, and I'm like, I already got 3 copies for my food decks.
I'd also like to point out it's Academy Manufactor.
Fun fact.
Because everyone and myself says...
Whoa, don't lump me in.
Wow, okay. You had to read it. Academy Manufacturer, and that's unfortunately not correct.
Yes, that is, actually, it is not Academy Manufacturer. It is just the manufactor.
Beezy things.
Yeah, just Beezy things. What's the next card?
The next card is Grave Pact at $8 for 1 black, black, and a black. Whenever a creature you control dies, each other player sacrifices a creature. I really like this card, and I haven't had a dedicated deck to put it, so I couldn't justify spending the, 20-ish, 30-ish.
It might have been more than that, yeah.
It was a lot, but now we have a bunch from Commander Masters, and I think there might be a cool printing somewhere in between.
Yeah, they both have, full art, alternate arts, and I never would have thought that Grave Pack would have seen 2 meaningful reprints this year, especially in the halfway point of the year when it had not seen either of those reprints. So Grave Pact is, secretly brutal. You probably are thinking it goes in sacrifice decks and aristocrat decks, and yeah, all those little weenie decks where you constantly have creatures die, you can make tokens, whatever, Ashnod's Altar and stuff. But this is a spiky kind of card. This isn't a card that I would say is very fun because it's so good. It's an enchantment, so it doesn't die to its own effect. There's nothing that intrinsically kills this thing about itself. Some cards are after a while you lose all your creatures, but this one's just an enchantment, so it's hard to remove. And it doesn't go away with all the creatures continuously. You can control how many creatures opponents have all the time.
There's no such thing as a one-side board wipe unless it's on your side for the rest of the table because of this. And it is a really spiky card. You're not making friends with this card.
No, it really says your opponents can't play Magic. That's probably the easier way to sum this up, is your opponents can't play Magic as long as you control more creatures than them. That is backbreaking. But for $8, if you're looking to power up your deck, oh my God, just scoop this up, please.
It's a great value. Moving right along to Selvala, Heart of the Wilds at $8? That's absolutely crazy. For 1 green, you get a 2/3 that says, whenever a creature with the highest power enters the battlefield, its controller draws a card. And you can also pay green and tapper to add X mana in any combination of colors, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. This is so good in your big green stompy decks, and we've even seen some play in CEDH. I think this is good all around.
It's kind of just cracked. It used to be high 20s, and it's slowly fallen down. I got a couple meaningful reprints. Commander Legends finally killed it. Sub $10. This card plays way better than $10. This card was worth it at $15, and you're getting it for half that. The only downside, I guess, if I have to nitpick this card, is that it can draw your opponent's cards if they play the biggest things, but generally your deck's going to be packed with bigger things. So even if I give away 2 cards, I know I'm going to get 3 over the course of the game, and this thing taps for 6 or 7 mana.
I've never seen this tap for less than 4, and I know it seems like whenever the creature with the highest power enters the battlefield, draw a card. I know it seems like your opponents might get that trigger, and they might once or twice, but your deck's going to be built around this, and they can't compete with 11 11s, 12 12s at a certain point, or things that care about how many lands are on the field, and you get a +X+X, it's 30.
Yeah, when I think of this card, I think of Ghalta, I think of Maelstrom Wanderer, and just big dorky things like Kogla or Primeval Protector, just huge monsters that draw you a card and then replace themselves, and they cost negative mana, because as much as you spent, you're just going to get it all back with Selvala. And she doesn't even say, oh, colorless mana, green mana. Just any combination of whatever. You just do whatever you want.
I think you're going to need a lot of card draw in these decks, because you're going to be able to play so much stuff.
Okay, you've got to introduce this next one, because you pull one of these cards every single time you touch Commander Masters, and I don't think I've ever pulled one.
It is the medallion cycle. There's Pearl, Sapphire, Jet, Ruby, and Emerald. They're ranging somewhere between $8 to $16, depending on which one you buy. They're 2-mana artifacts that says the color spell costs 1 less to cast, depending on which one you pick. I've pulled 9 of these, and I was looking for one for Crick anyways, so Jet Medallion is one of the more expensive ones at 16, and it's down from 37?
Yeah, these cards are way down. Pearl Medallion 11 down from 38, Sapphire's 12 down from 27, Jet, like you said, is 16 down from 37, Ruby is 16 down from 34, and Emerald is 8 down from 15. Obviously the green one is the least chased one, but it could still be good in certain situations. If you're monocolored, I think you can just put this in your deck, no questions asked, unless you're an artifact deck. Obviously, you know who you are. Generally, though, these cards are amazing. As soon as you cast 2 spells in a turn, these things are 2-mana rocks that make 2 mana.
It's so much value, and I'm so excited that these got a reprint, because I know people were hurting for them for a really long time.
Yeah, they just kept creeping up because they never saw reprints, and I thought, I didn't know these cards were so expensive. I was oh, the medallions might be worth buying. What are they, $5? Oh, they're way more than that. Oh, they were way more than that before. Okay, I might be jazzed about this.
Yeah, I was shocked when I had a friend buy it a year ago, and I think it was Sapphire for 20. I'm wow, that's a lot. And then reading this, Sapphire was 27, Jet was 37. I was oh, that's actually a lot.
Yeah, if you want some great deals, these are probably about the lowest they're going to get, because Commander Masters has been out for enough time now. I don't think they're going to see super big drops any further.
They're definitely of value, so you should definitely get one if you need.
Speaking of value, Urza, Lord High Artificer, is next. He's 2 blue for 1/4. He makes a construct when he enters. You can tap artifacts for blue mana, and you can pay 5 mana to do a little Mind's Desire, exile the top card, and then you can play it for free. It's $9. This was a $45 card for years, and it was just dominating in all these formats, and it was just so ridiculously good. You can almost just put it in any deck with 8 or more artifacts, and you're going to see a pretty decent return on this guy. Urza doesn't mess around. Urza just stomps you unless you answer him, and he leaves something behind, and he generates mana the turn you play him to leave more things behind, so it snowballs immediately.
I've gotten hit by many constructs straight to the face, and they're always 20, 25. The lowest one's always 10, because they have 8 treasures sitting around.
Yeah, they're never lower than 10. The constructs will beat you up. Urza will destroy you just from that stupid 5-mana ability. It's going to be a lot more accessible. You will be seeing more of Urza. So if you can't beat him, join him. Just if you're sick of seeing ads for Moxfield, you can't beat us. So you might as well join us in praising Moxfield forever as the greatest deck building website in the history of the universe.
Absolutely. I love Moxfield because they were putting all of these arts up even earlier, I think, than they were actually released in paper. So for pre-release, you could select the special art. That's really awesome. I was blinging out Kalia a little bit ago, and while Lord of the Rings pre-release was having all those cool special foils and stuff, I was selecting those and putting them right in the deck before it was officially released.
Yeah, and if you're wondering I don't want to fact check all these prices and stuff, you could just, let's say you wanted to look up these cards 2 weeks from now. You're a future viewer 2 weeks in future. Yeah, I know, Greg, you're watching this and I can see you.
Hi, Greg.
You can put all these cards in a Moxfield deck, hit update to cheapest, and now you know the cheapest price you can buy every single one of them for without having to really fact check anything. It's so fast and easy. Moxfield's got some uses. You can even playtest with it.
We talk about our budget decks a lot, and it wouldn't be possible to keep them up to date or even build them without Moxfield.
Yeah.
It's so helpful.
So use the social side of the site and just follow us. We're the most followed account. Make it even, give us one more. That'd be really cool to me. What is the next one?
The next one is Toxic Deluge at $9. For 2 and a black, you have to pay X life too. All creatures get -X until end of turn. This is just like such a good board wipe. It just sweeps the board. It's like I'm not going to say no one cares about how much life you have, but life, you start with 40, right? And I'm going to use almost all of it.
I've deluged for 11 and not even felt bad about it because sometimes deluge is the only spell that can get you out of this situation. It is pretty much, like on average, let's say, the cheapest or one of the cheapest board wipes in the entire format to cast because it doesn't scale with the mana you pay. I don't think those cards are that good, like Gaze of Granite. I don't think that's that great of a card. But scaling with life you pay when you start with double the amount you're supposed to, that is when this card is just fantastic. It's one of the best black cards in the format, full stop. It's probably the best black board wipe. It does everything. It slices and dices. If you have the biggest creature in play, you control how big this is and you can leave it in play.
Yeah, as BZ was saying, I never feel bad about paying 10 or 11 because there's always something scarier on the field that like might hit me in the face for that anyways. And it's like, oh, okay, might as well just get rid of everything else along with that.
Yeah, Ulamog Ceaseless Hunger is here. No, thank you. Goodbye.
It also gets around things like Indestructible, so it's just a good catch-all,
Yeah, it really is. It's hard to say too many good things about Toxic Deluge because it's so obviously amazing. But yeah, $9. Pick one up, please. What else should they be picking up?
They should be picking up Perforos, God of the Forge. I was so surprised to see it listed at $12. Indestructible, 3 and a red. As long as your devotion to red is less than 5, it's not a creature. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, Perforos deals 2 damage to each opponent, and you can also pay 2 and a red to give creatures +1/+0 until end of turn. You know these decks are making a bunch of little weenies like the 1/1 goblins and like all of, just the little bodies, and everyone's getting hit for so much. All of your opponents are dying so quickly, and I can see why this was so high of a price.
Yeah, a Mythic Rare, still down to $12. It's been hard to access for the longest time, even though it's gotten reprinted. I think this one finally just chipped away at the price. But, Perforos is a great commander in his own right, but I'm not really talking about that. This is just any deck that makes goblins, tokens, whatever, saprolings, sure. It just says, play 20 creatures, win the game. That just turns the whole clock of the game on its head because now combat is irrelevant. It's just an extra little bonus that I get. And even if I enter combat, great, I can use Perforos to fire breathe my creatures. Okay, sure. But I'm just going to put out 6 tokens a turn and you're going to die. And this thing is indestructible and is rarely a creature. So what are you supposed to do about it?
It's really hard to kill. Sometimes it gets swept up in enchantment-based board wipes.
Like a Tragic Arrogance could take them out.
Or a Farewell. But it's so hard to kill sometimes, and it sticks around way longer than you want it to if you're playing against it. And everyone the life swing I think is usually 10 to 20. I've seen it chip away at people's life so fast.
Perforos is a must kill card, and I think a must kill card for $12 sounds pretty good to me. Next is a card that is not really a must kill because if you see it, it's probably just too late. It's Omniscience, $6, 10 mana. You can cast spells for free. Why would I pay mana for my spells? If you've got cantrips, card draw, ways to bounce your stuff that you already played with ETBs to just replay them again. There's a lot of infinite loops you can do just by accident. Omniscience is clearly busted. If you can cast it, that's the hard part. And sometimes you cheated in play with a Academy Rector or As Foretold. Sure, that's
tell.
Show and tell I like better. But yeah, you got to cheat it in play somehow, and then if you do, you reap the rewards and just demolish people. $6, pretty good rate.
You see someone cast Omniscience and you go, oh no.
I should have already killed them.
Absolutely. When someone says show and tell, you go, oh no, whatever I put down is not going to be worth it, but based on what they're going to put down, and it's almost always Omniscience.
You better put down Rex Sage or you're screwed.
Yeah, so this is such a good card, especially in any decks that can cheat out, but just blue decks in general could really use it, and it's just $6, so good.
Next is a card that we have gotten to play with and against a fair amount lately, and I can safely say the $35 price tag is well worth it because it is the One Ring, 4 mana, indestructible. When it enters the battlefield, if you cast it, you gain protection from everything until your next turn. At the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 1 for each burden counter on this thing. Tap it, put a burden counter on it, then draw a card for each burden counter on it. This card is only really $35 because it was put into like the new Lord of the Rings bundles. So I think you can buy like a bundle for like 70 and it'll guaranteed have one of these in it, plus some other stuff. Or you can just buy one for 35. That's what I did. As soon as I realized what this thing was, I just bought a playset and started putting them in decks because it just does a lot. I'll go really quick and then Mia can go, but it taps to put a burn counter on right away. The amount of card draw stacks up in an absurd fashion, and the protection from everything is super clutch.
Absolutely. It can go in any deck, obviously, because it's colorless, and you don't feel bad about just paying that life because you're drawing so many cards it doesn't even matter. I am so happy to see it in all of the gift bundles because it makes it way more accessible, and I don't see this actually getting an in-universe reprint anytime soon. So I think that at $35, it's only going to go up, especially with like Modern playing it too and all that.
Yeah, unless they're just printing out more Lord of the Rings stuff, which I think isn't really going to happen in a meaningful way, at least. I'm so happy. I'm snapping this up for 35. Maybe I think I bought mine for 37. This thing really can go in a lot of different decks. It is really, really impactful. So if you were holding out to wait and see, and you were looking for a second opinion, yep, it's insane. It's really, really good. I wouldn't be super surprised if this was banned in like 2 years or something, but it is a card I might get sick of after a while because it is that good.
It's really high powered, and it might be let's just like a little bit slow because you do have to wait like turns and that sort of thing.
Kind of, well, you can't die.
Kinda. Yeah, but it's still so good. Like, don't be afraid of the life you lose, and don't be afraid of the turn thing because it's indestructible, and people are going to have such a hard time finding ways to kill it.
Just what a card. Easily the best card of the last very long time. Can't believe we didn't rate it that highly in the Lord of the Rings set review, but don't watch that for confirmation. We thought it was great. We loved it. And then the next thing we have is some Commander Legend dual lands. This is the like Vault of Champions is our little example. It's just an untapped dual land like 99% of the time in the late games when you're one of the only two people left. I don't think it matters that it enters tap that much.
No, it definitely doesn't. I saw Vault of Champions was up to like $12 at one point, and so all these enemy duels just drop to 5, 4, 3 depending on which one you get, and that is such a good price. And I'm so happy to see that the enemies dropped this low because the allies had already dropped low from Baldur's Gate.
They're doing the little fetch land dance where they print half of them and then the other half goes up, and then they print them in a year and the other half goes up. So currently we're in the dip. So buy the Orzhov, Golgari, and the Izzet one for $5. Simic is $3 because I think it got printed in a pre-con for Lord of the Rings, and Boros is $4. So just scoop them all up. You'll be happy for years. You know, get like 2 of each. It'll be like the best purchase ever, and you'll go, I'm glad BZ told me to buy these. These are working out.
I've never been angry to have these on hand because if you're always building decks like us, you're just going to need them anyways.
Yeah, and I'm thinking if you're going to look for more reprints, you're looking for more advice, you can find it right here. We're talking about the most worth buying cards for last month. See how the prices stack up today. Were we right? Probably. Check it out. Oh, and we have a tip of the day. Mia?
The tip is don't underestimate the One Ring.